The great hall of the Galactic Council stretched high above the assembled delegates, its walls made of crystal that sparkled with light from distant stars. Hundreds of beings from across the galaxy sat in curved rows, their different forms creating a rainbow of colors and shapes. Some had scales, others had fur, and a few glowed with their own inner light. Ambassador Kethver stepped forward to the center of the hall. His blue-scaled hands shook slightly as he activated the massive holographic display. A three-dimensional map of the galaxy appeared above the delegates, showing trade routes as glowing lines connecting thousands of worlds. "Fellow beings of the Council," Kethver began, his voice echoing in the vast space. "I come before you today with a proposal that could change galactic trade forever." The map zoomed in on a particular section where the trade routes curved in a wide arc around a dark region of space. That region was marked in red with simple words, "Human space, do not enter." For 300 years, we have been forced to take the long way around this. "Human territory," Kethver said, pointing at the red zone. "Our ships must travel an extra 2 months to reach the Outer Rim colonies. Our merchants lose millions of credits. Our people wait longer for supplies and medicine." Murmurs rippled through the assembly. Many delegates nodded in agreement. The long trade routes were indeed costly and time-consuming. "I propose we finally claim our right to free passage through this space," Kethver declared. "We are the Galactic Council. We represent over 2,000 civilizations. Why should we fear one small, primitive species?" That's when Counselor Vextel rose from his seat. The ancient being moved slowly, his crystal body dim with age. When he spoke, his voice sounded like rocks grinding together, deep and powerful. Every delegate in the hall fell silent. Vextel was old enough to remember when their grandparents were young. He had seen the rise and fall of entire civilizations. Primitive Vextel's laugh was like breaking glass. "Young Kethver, you call them primitive because you know nothing." The old counselor moved to the center of the hall, his steps echoing in the silence. 300 years ago, I was there when we first met the humans. They had just discovered faster-than-light travel. Their ships were crude, their weapons simple. We thought them weak and unimportant. Vextel raised one crystal hand, and new information appeared on the holographic display. A list of names and dates filled the air above the delegates. The expedition of the Golden Dawn, 57 ships departed 300 years ago to establish relations with humanity. Status: missing. The Second Contact Fleet, 23 ships, sent 280 years ago. Status: missing. The Trade Mission of the Bright Stars, 31 ships, sent 200 years ago. Status: missing. The list continued, entry after entry of missing ships and crews. Kethver's confident expression began to fade. "In total," Vextel said, his ancient voice heavy with memory, 12 major expeditions have attempted to cross human space. 47 ships. Over 15,000 beings from dozens of species. None returned. Not one. But surely, interrupted a young delegate from the bird-like Altarian species, some must have sent distress signals. Emergency beacons. Something. Vextel turned his dim crystal eyes toward the speaker. Nothing. Complete silence. As if they simply stopped existing the moment they entered human territory. Perhaps they chose to stay, suggested another delegate. Maybe the humans offered them something better. 15,000 beings from dozens of different species, all deciding at the exact same moment to abandon their families, their homes, their entire civilizations. Vextel's voice carried the weight of centuries. "Does that seem likely to you?" Kethver tried to regain control of the discussion. With respect, honored Vextel, these could be accidents. Space is dangerous. Pirates, stellar phenomena, equipment failures, any number of things could explain these disappearances. "Then, explain this," Vextel said. The hologram changed to show a recording. The image, scratchy and old. It showed the bridge of a spaceship, with various alien crew members looking frightened. A voice crackled through the recording. "This is Captain Yextel of the exploration vessel Starseeker. We've been traveling through human space for 6 days. Everything seemed normal until this morning. Our sensors are showing impossible readings. Ships that appear and disappear. Energy signatures. We don't recognize the humans. The humans are everywhere. They're not just in ships. They're in the space itself. We're turning back now, but I don't think they're going to let us leave. If anyone receives this message, warn the Council. Don't come here. Whatever the humans have become, it's not what we expected. They're not primitive. The recording ended in static. That was 43 years ago, Vextel said quietly. The last transmission we ever received from human space. The hall was completely silent now. Even Kethfer looked pale, his earlier confidence completely gone. The humans built walls around their territory, Vextel continued. Not walls of metal or energy, but something far more effective. They built walls of fear and mystery. Every expedition that enters their space simply vanishes, leaving behind only stories and warnings. He turned to face the entire assembly. We don't avoid human space because we're cowards. We avoid it because we're wise. Some boundaries exist for good reasons, but despite the ancient counselor's warnings, ambition and greed spoke louder than wisdom. The vote was close, but the proposal passed. A new diplomatic survey mission would be organized. 12 ships from various species. The largest expedition to human space in over a century. As the delegates filed out of the hall, Vextel remained behind, staring at the holographic map. The red zone of human space seemed to pulse with an ominous light. Fools, he whispered to himself. They have no idea what they're walking into. Fleet Commander Zarketh stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Nexus Dawn, watching the swirling colors of hyperspace fade into normal starlight. Around him, his mixed crew of different alien species worked at their stations, their voices quiet with nervous energy. "We have entered human space, Commander," reported his navigation officer, a tall blue-skinned Altarian named Vel. "All 12 ships are accounted for." Zarketh nodded and looked out at the starfield ahead. It looked perfectly normal, distant suns twinkling against the black of space, nothing threatening or unusual. He had expected something different, something that would explain the fear surrounding this region. "Begin long-range scans," he ordered. "I want to know everything about this area." The tactical officer, a scaled Zephyrian, worked at his console. "Commander, initial scans show very little activity. A few old mining operations, some abandoned space stations. Most appear to have been empty for decades." "Empty?" Zarketh frowned. "What do you mean, empty?" "The mining equipment is still there, but it's not running. The space stations have power, but no life signs. It's like everyone just ... left over the next 2 days." The fleet moved deeper into human space. They passed through 3 star systems, each one showing the same pattern. Old human settlements, clearly abandoned, drifting silent in the void. Asteroid mining platforms hung, motionless among the rocks. Space stations orbited dead planets with their lights dim. "Maybe they all died," suggested the communications officer, a furry Vorthan female. "Disease, natural disaster, something like that. Or maybe they moved deeper into their territory," Zarketh replied, though he wasn't convinced. Something about the abandoned settlements bothered him. They didn't look destroyed or damaged. They looked like people had simply walked away from them one day and never came back. On the 3rd day, strange things began to happen. The ship's sensors would flicker, showing readings that made no sense. Energy signatures would appear for a few seconds, then vanish completely. The communications system experienced delays that shouldn't exist over such short distances. Commander Veltar called from his station. I'm getting reports from the other ships. Several crew members are complaining about feeling ... watched. By what? Our sensors show nothing out there. That's just it, sir. The sensors show empty space, but the crews insist they feel like something is observing them. Zarkith dismissed these reports as nervousness, but privately he was beginning to feel uneasy himself. There was something wrong with this place, something he couldn't identify. On the fourth day, they finally encountered their first active human installation. It was a modest mining platform orbiting a gas giant, clearly operational with lights and energy readings. When they approached, Zarkith ordered his communications officer to make contact. Unknown human station. This is Fleet Commander Zarkith of the Galactic Council, diplomatic mission. Please respond. The reply came surprisingly quickly, imperfect, Galactic Standard Language. Greetings, travelers. I am Station Manager, Kim Deho. I'm afraid you cannot proceed further into our territory. Please, alter your course and return to your previous heading. We strongly advise immediate withdrawal from this sector. Zarkith was surprised by the politeness of the response. He had expected hostility or demands, not this gentle request. Manager Kim, we are on a peaceful diplomatic mission, approved by the Galactic Council. We request safe passage through your space. There was a long pause before the human replied. When he did, his voice carried an odd tone that Zarkith couldn't identify. Commander Zarkith, please understand, we are trying to help you. Turn back now, while you still can. For your own safety, and the safety of your crews. Are you threatening us? Zarkith asked. No, Commander. Quite the opposite. We are warning you. Please, I beg you, turn your ships around and leave this place. Something in the human's voice made Zarkith's blood run cold. It wasn't anger or arrogance he heard. It was genuine concern, even fear, but not fear of the alien fleet, fear for them? Why should we turn back? What's out there that you don't want us to see? Another long pause. Commander, in your language, there isn't a word for what we've become. Your people wouldn't understand. Please, just trust me and leave. Zerk cut the transmission, troubled by the conversation. The human hadn't sounded like an enemy. He had sounded like someone trying to save them from something terrible. Sir, the tactical officer called out, I'm detecting movement at the edge of our sensor range. Ships, I think, but they're moving strangely. Show me. The main screen displayed their tactical readings. Dots of light appeared and disappeared across the display, moving at impossible speeds, following no recognizable flight patterns. Those velocity readings can't be correct, Veltar said, studying his instruments. Nothing can move that fast without tearing itself apart. Maybe our sensors are malfunctioning, suggested the communications officer. But Zarkith knew better. Deep in his gut, he felt the truth. Those weren't sensor errors. Something was out there. Something that could move in ways that defied everything they knew about physics. Over the fleet communications, other ship commanders reported the same phenomena. Strange contacts appearing and disappearing, energy readings. That made no sense. Crew members reporting feelings of being observed by invisible watchers. Commander Velta said quietly, what if the human was right? What if we should turn back? Zarkith stared at the tactical display, watching the impossible contacts dance across the screen. Part of him wanted to order the fleet to retreat immediately. But his orders were clear, and his pride wouldn't let him run from shadows and sensor ghosts. We continue forward, he decided, but increase alert status, and keep trying to scan those contacts. I want to know what we're dealing with. As the fleet pushed deeper into human space, none of them realized they had already been detected, cataloged, and marked. The hunt had begun. The fleet pressed deeper into human space. And that's when Zarkith realized they were no longer alone in the black void. It started small. His sensors would catch something moving at the very edge of their detection range. A flash of energy. a brief contact that vanished before they could get a clear reading. The tactical officer would call out coordinates, but when they looked, nothing was there. "Commander," the Altarian navigation officer said, his blue face pale with worry, "the other ships are reporting the same thing. Contacts that appear for seconds, then disappear completely." Zarkith studied the main display screen. Empty space stretched ahead of them, dotted with distant stars. But his instruments told a different story. Energy signatures flickered across his sensors like ghosts. They're one moment and gone the next. "Sir," the tactical officer's voice was tight with fear, "I'm picking up movement patterns. Whatever's out there, it's not random. They're positioning themselves around us." The commander felt ice form in his stomach. "Show me the tactical overview." The screen changed to display all 12 ships of his fleet as blue dots moving through space. Around them, red contacts appeared and disappeared in a pattern that made Zarkith's blood run cold. The unknown contacts were forming a loose circle around his fleet, staying just at the edge of sensor range. "How many are there?" he asked. "I can't get an accurate count, sir. They appear and vanish too quickly, but based on the energy readings, dozens, maybe hundreds." From the communications station, panicked voices crackled over the fleet frequency. Other ship commanders were reporting the same thing, mysterious contacts surrounding them, moving at impossible speeds, coordinating their movements across vast distances with no apparent communication lag. "This is Captain Rexonel of the Starpiercer," came a shaky voice over the radio. "We're detecting energy signatures, unlike anything in our databases. These ships are moving at velocities that should be impossible. They're not obeying the normal laws of physics." "All ships maintain formation," Zarkith ordered, though his own voice betrayed his growing fear. "Continue on course. Do not repeat. Do not take any aggressive action." But even as he gave the order, he knew they were trapped. Every time his fleet tried to adjust course slightly, more contacts would appear, gently but firmly blocking their path. It was subtle at first, just energy readings that suggested they shouldn't go in that direction. But gradually, it became clear that they were being herded like animals. "Commander," his communications officer said, her furry Vorthan hands shaking as she worked her console, "I'm picking up transmissions between the unknown contacts. But sir, there's no delay. No transmission lag across distance. They're communicating instantly across impossible space." "That's not possible," Zarkith said. "Even quantum communication has limits. Sir, I'm monitoring their signals. They're not using radio or quantum channels. They're using something else entirely. Something we don't understand." The hunt continued for hours. Whenever Zarketh's fleet tried to change direction, the mysterious contacts would anticipate their movements and appear exactly where they needed to be to block them. It was like playing a game against an opponent who could read their minds. "Sir," the sensor operator called out, his voice breaking with panic, "I'm detecting human signatures in all directions now. They're not just around us, they're everywhere. Above us, below us, integrated into the space itself." Zarkith looked at his screens in growing horror. The sensor readings showed energy patterns throughout the surrounding space, not just from ships, but from the vacuum itself. It was as if the empty space around them was alive with technology. "The void isn't empty," whispered his science officer, staring at impossible readings. "Every cubic meter of space around us is showing technological signatures. It's like the humans have embedded their technology into space itself." Over the fleet communications, terror-filled voices reported the same discoveries. The human presence wasn't limited to ships or stations. They had somehow integrated their technology into the very fabric of space around them. Commander Veltar said quietly, "What if we're not crossing through human space? What if we're crossing through the humans themselves?" Before Zarkith could respond, his communications officer spoke up. "Sir, I'm receiving a transmission. It's coming from everywhere at once. Put it on speakers." A calm human voice filled the bridge. Speaking in perfect galactic standard, Fleet Commander Zarkith of the Galactic Council Diplomatic Mission. You have traveled far from home. Who are you? Zarkith demanded. Show yourselves. We are showing ourselves, Commander. We have been showing ourselves since the moment you entered our territory. Every energy reading, every sensor contact, every feeling of being watched, that is us. I demand safe passage through your space. There was what sounded like a sigh in the transmission. Commander, you still don't understand. You are not passing through our space. You are inside us. Every atom around you, every particle of dust, every seemingly empty area of vacuum, it is all part of us now. Zarkith felt the blood drain from his face. What are you saying? We tried to warn you at the mining station. We tried to give you time to leave, but you insisted on coming deeper. Now you are here, in the heart of what we have become. The sensors showed more contacts appearing, surrounding the fleet completely. But now, Zarkith understood, they weren't separate ships. They were all part of the same vast organism, a network that spanned entire star systems. What do you want with us? He whispered. Nothing, Commander. We want nothing from you. We want you to leave, for your own safety. But now that you are here, now that you have seen what we are, leaving may no longer be an option. The hunt was over. They had been caught by something beyond their understanding, something that had turned an entire region of space into a single, vast consciousness. And now, trapped in its embrace, Zarkith finally understood why no one ever returned from human space. The alien fleet hung motionless in space, their ship's systems failing one by one without any visible attack. Zarkith watched his control panels flicker and die, then restart with information he had never seen before. Files appeared on his screens. Files that shouldn't exist. Data his computers couldn't have accessed. Commander, his science officer called out, voice shaking. Our databases are being ... updated. Information is being added that we never collected. On the main screen, records began displaying themselves. Videos of other alien expeditions, just like theirs. Zarkith watched in horror as he saw crew members from dozens of different species, all making the same journey, all discovering the same terrible truth. These are the missing expeditions, Veltar whispered. All 47 ships over the centuries. They're all here, in these files. The recordings showed crews from the past, experiencing exactly what Zarketh's fleet was experiencing now. The same mysterious contacts, the same impossible sensor readings, the same growing realization that they had entered something far beyond their understanding. But where are they now? The communications officer asked. Where are the crews from? These ships. Before anyone could answer, new information began flowing across their screens. Technical data, scientific readings, historical records, all appearing faster than any being could read. But somehow, Zarkith found he could understand it all. As if the knowledge was being placed directly into his mind. The truth unfolded like a nightmare, 300 years ago. When the humans had first been contacted by alien species, they were, indeed, primitive. Their ships were crude, their weapons simple, their technology limited. But they were also afraid of the vast galaxy filled with species more advanced than themselves. So they began to change. They didn't just build better ships, Zarkith said, reading the flowing data with growing horror. They built better humans. The information showed how humanity had embraced a form of technological evolution that other species had never imagined. They had connected their minds through quantum networks, linking every human consciousness into a single, vast intelligence. They had embedded technology into their bodies, into their space stations, into the very atoms of space around their territory. Every human in this region is connected, the science officer read from his screen. They don't just communicate with each other, they share thoughts, memories, experiences. They think as one mind with billions of parts. But that was only the beginning. The humans had taken their transformation further than any species in galactic history. They had learned to manipulate matter at the quantum level, to embed processing power into empty space itself, to exist as both individual beings and as part of a collective consciousness that spanned star systems. Human space isn't defended by ships or weapons, Veltar said, his voice barely above a whisper. Human space is the weapon. Every cubic meter of vacuum around us contains their technology. We're not surrounded by their ships, we're inside their mind. A new transmission filled the bridge, the voice calm and patient. You are beginning to understand, Commander Zarkith. We became something more than we were. We had to, in order to survive. Survive what? Zarkith demanded. Survive ourselves. Survive what we used to be. New images appeared on the screens, historical records from humanity's past. Wars, conquest, destruction on a scale that made the alien species sick to watch. Humans fighting humans, destroying entire worlds, committing acts of violence that other species could barely comprehend. We were a warlike species, Commander. Aggressive, territorial, constantly fighting. When we first met other alien races, our instinct was to conquer, to take, to dominate. We nearly destroyed ourselves with our own violence. So you changed yourselves to become peaceful? Zarkith asked. The pause that followed was filled with a terrible weight. No, Commander. We changed ourselves to become something far more dangerous than we ever were before. We learned to control our violent nature, but we did not remove it. We simply focused it. The screens showed more data, the true scope of human technological advancement. They had weapons that could destroy entire star systems with a thought. They could manipulate gravity itself, bend space and time, create and destroy matter at will. They had become beings of such immense power that they could have conquered the entire galaxy centuries ago. Then why haven't you? Zarkith asked, though part of him already knew the answer would terrify him. Because we remember what we were, Commander. We remember the hunger for conquests, the joy we took in domination and destruction. We know that if we allowed ourselves to expand beyond this space, if we gave in to our nature, we would not stop until every world in the galaxy burned. The alien crew members looked at each other in growing horror. They were not prisoners of a hostile species. They were witnesses to something far worse, a species so powerful and so dangerous that it had imprisoned itself to protect the galaxy from its own nature. We choose isolation not to protect ourselves from you, the human voice continued. We choose isolation to protect you from us. Every day, we choose not to conquer. Every moment, we choose not to destroy. But that choice becomes harder when outsiders force us to remember what we once were. Zarkith felt his legs give out as the full truth hit him. Humanity hadn't become peaceful. They had become the most dangerous force in the galaxy, and the only thing keeping them from unleashing that power was their own will to remain isolated. You keep people away not because you're afraid of invasion, he whispered. You keep them away because you're afraid of what you might do if provoked. Now, you understand, Commander? Now you know why no one crosses human space and returns to tell the tale. In the end, there was no battle, no explosions, no dramatic last stand. The alien fleet was simply collected. One by one, each crew member found themselves transported from their ships to clean white rooms that seemed to exist nowhere and everywhere at once. Zarkith materialized in such a chamber, the walls glowing with soft light that had no visible source. Standing before him was a human figure, unremarkable in appearance. Average height, dark hair, wearing simple clothing. But when the human spoke, his presence seemed to fill the entire room with quiet authority. Your name is Commander Lee Junho, the human said calmly. You were born on the colony world of New Terra. You have been defending this sector for 47 years. Zarkith's mind reeled. The human was speaking as if he belonged here, as if his entire life history was known and catalogued. My name is Zarkith, he protested. I command the Galactic Council fleet. Yes, you do, Lee agreed. And you are also Commander Lee Junho. Both things are true, from different perspectives. We know everything about you, Zarkith. Every memory, every thought, every fear you have ever had. We know, because we have scanned your mind completely. Around the chamber, images began appearing in the air, scenes from Zarkith's life, his childhood, his training, his family back home, private moments that no one else should know. We don't do this to be cruel, Lee continued. We do it because we must understand who enters our space. We must know if you are a threat, if your people will send more ships, if your governments can be trusted to respect our boundaries. What are you going to do with us? Zarkith asked, though part of him already feared the answer. We are going to send you home, Lee said simply, but we cannot send you home with the knowledge you have gained. The truth of what we have become would drive your species to desperation or madness. Some would try to destroy us out of fear. Others would try to steal our technology. Both responses would force us to act, and we do not want to act. Zarkith felt a strange sensation in his mind, as if memories were being gently lifted away like pages from a book. The detailed knowledge of human technology began to fade, the understanding of their vast networks growing dim. The process is painless, Lee explained. We remove the dangerous knowledge, but leave the essential lesson. You will remember terror, overwhelming fear, and the absolute certainty that entering human space means death, but you will not remember why. Wait. Zarkith struggled to hold on to his fading memories. If you're so powerful, why hide? Why not just tell the galaxy the truth? Lee's expression grew sad. Because the truth would start a war, Commander. Some species would band together to try to destroy us before we could threaten them. Others would try to ally with us to gain our protection. The galaxy would split into factions, and eventually, someone would force us to choose a side. The memory erasure continued, but one image remained crystal clear in Zarkith's mind. Lee's final words burned into his consciousness with perfect clarity. Tell your council that we could have taken the galaxy long ago, but we choose not to. We could end every civilization in the known universe within a single year, but we choose not to. We remain here, in our small corner of space, because we love the galaxy enough to protect it from ourselves. But if your people ever threaten our isolation, if you ever force us to remember what we were capable of becoming, there will be no choice left to make. The white room began to fade, and Zarkith found himself back on his ship's bridge. Around him, his crew members were returning to their stations, looking confused and disoriented. Their detailed memories of the human technology were gone, replaced by vague impressions of overwhelming terror. Commander Veltar said shakily, "What happened to us? I remember fear. Terrible fear, but I can't remember why." "None of us can," Zarkith replied, though Lee's warning remained perfectly clear in his mind. Set course for home. Maximum speed. The fleet returned to Council Space 3 weeks later, their crews forever changed. In their reports, they described terror beyond description, and the absolute certainty that entering human space meant death. But when pressed for details, they could only shake their heads and repeat the same words. Don't go there. Never go there. Counselor Vextel read their reports with ancient, knowing eyes. The pattern was always the same, expeditions that returned with their crews intact but their memories strangely empty of details. And so the cycle continues, he murmured to himself. Another generation learns why we do not cross human space. In the depths of human space, Lee Junho returned to his duties, monitoring the vast networks that connected every human consciousness in the sector. The alien fleet had been processed and released, carrying their warning back to the galaxy. Around him, his people continued their eternal vigil. They had learned the ultimate lesson of power, that sometimes the greatest strength came not from showing what you could do, but from choosing never to do it. The humans had become the guardians of a galaxy that would never know how close it had come to witnessing what they could truly accomplish if they ever decided to stop protecting everyone else from themselves. But for now, the choice held. The boundaries remained. And in the vast councils of alien species across the galaxy, the whispered warning continued to spread. No one crosses human space, because none return. And perhaps, Vextel thought, as he filed away another report, that was exactly how it should be.